Oh, hey, folks. So I just got off the phone with a for sale by owner, and he asked me, he put his house up on the market, and he's not getting any traction with any kind of real estate brokers. And he wanted to know what he had to do in order to get people to see his house. He put it on Zillow, and of course, Zillow has every single house in the United States there. However, the ones that are the most fresh are the ones that are attached to real estate brokers, he says. So I had to explain to him that there's a couple of reasons why he's not getting any traction as far as his house is concerned, even though he put it on Zillow. And that is, for one, for sale by owners, realtors won't show a for sale by owner. They may not show. I will. And here's the reason why they won't. When they call, 9 times out of 10, the for sale by owner person has had 4 million phone calls from real estate brokers who have no interest whatsoever in showing the house. But what they want to do is they want the listing. And that's all fine and dandy, but it doesn't get your house sold and it doesn't get the savings that you want taken care of. And with the latest numbers of, how should I say, lawsuits that have gone through, um, all of them are racing toward attempting to get what they call the listing versus actually trying to do any kind of sale. So in the FSBO deal, a buyer's agent knows that there won't be a professional colleague on the other end of the transaction. So they're likely happy and say, well, or they may even bump up what they normally will charge just to test the waters as to what they will uh, help try to sell a house for. So instead of, say, for instance, 1 or 2%, they charge 2 to 4%, something like that, something stupid. Even if a client insists on seeing the house, the agent might discourage making an offer, citing hassles and risks of trying to close the deal without a professional representing the seller and without a guaranteed commission. And that's what one of the NAR lawsuits was about, was there wasn't any disclosure to the sellers about, if they were going to list a house for, say, X%, that out of that X%, the buyer's agent was getting, anywhere from 50% to, 30% or something like that of that in order to sell the house. But to me, if you take a look at the exclusive right to sell listing agreement, that's an employment contract between you and the seller, or me and the seller, saying that, hey, I'm willing to work on selling your house, and this is my rate that I'm going to charge. And if you take a look at the buyer's agency agreement that we have in North Carolina, it is also an employment agreement saying that, hi, Mr. Buyer, my name is blank, and I am here to help you find your house. And this is what we commonly charge in order to find your house. And we go and we scour all the MLSs. The other thing, too, to understand about this is that this is something that has happened just recently. And really, what I think is going to happen is, if you're for sale by owner, you're either going to have a listing agent, or you're going to have somebody who is going to come to you as a buyer's agent and ask you if you would pay their commission to bring a buyer to you. And of course, you always have the answer of saying, you always have the choice of saying no. You always have the choice of saying no. Uh, the issue here is that commonly buyer's agents will steer people away if they know that they're not going to get paid. And the reason is because it's a career field. It's not a cost of doing business, so to speak. If that was the case, then your attorneys would be selling your house, not a real estate salesperson. So understand that there's really two reasons why I show for sale by owner. One is, in this market, there's not a lot of houses that are available for sale using the MLS and other traditional means. And the second reason is because a lot of people don't want to buy a new house. They want something that's a house that's established. But the problem remains that it's not out on the MLS, so I can't do anything but call you and say, hey, I would like to make an appointment with you in order to show your house. Is it okay? And oh, by the way, uh, are you okay with doing some disclosure statements and stuff like that so my buyers may know? Now, I'm going to tell you what an unreasonable request is, probably later on. But a lot of common people will say, well, the reason why I like this house is because, I would like to overpay. Well, those days are gone, my friends. And it doesn't matter the size of the paddle, your boat's going nowhere. Uh, and I'll tell you, for sale by owner people are one of the are viewed as unrealistic as their expectations are concerned. Either the price is unreasonable, not wanting to do any kind of minor repairs, not wanting to negotiate any kind of repairs, come down off the price or anything like that. So when a professional realtor calls, then commonly that person finds the realtor an offensive person. And in fact, I've called one that said, "Well, this phone number's on the national do not call list." Well, that doesn't matter. If you put your phone number out on Zillow because you're selling your house, God and everybody's can call it. Period. No ifs, ands, buts about it. No complaining about it being on a national do not call list or the state sponsored do not call list. If you put your phone number out there, even if it's on Facebook for, weight bench, the world can call you about the weight bench. And once they call you and you try to negotiate a price with them, that's doing business with them, and they can call you 18 months after that. So think about that. Would it be better for you to contact me to list your property? And then that way I take all those phone calls and then you only have to deal with me? Or do you want to handle the 4.5 billion people who seemingly want to call your phone number now that's out on Zillow? And some of these people are just tire kickers. Secondly, the thing about it is that, well, I'll get down to the end of it because a lot of people think that I'm crazy when I say this. Some of the buyer's agents will show your property under the right conditions, such as they're getting paid, or you're working with them, or you're being rational and reasonable. The agent may say that they want a 6% commission. No, the answer is no. Plain and simple, the answer is no, because you're only doing one side of the commission. You're not doing two sides of the commission. You're not doing a listing agent. You're not doing a buyer's agent. You tell them no, not just no, but hell no, and then negotiate down from there. An agreement that you sign with them should clarify that the agent's only working on behalf of the buyer. And see, this is where you need somebody to work on your behalf, because 9 times out of 10, a lot of people who do for sale by owners think that they've been, how should I say, royally been put into a corner and bent over because they demand stuff. They give you a bunch of forms that 9 times out of 10 you can't understand because it's a bunch of legalese contract stuff, disclosures, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that really backs you into a corner instead of you being able to sell your house with all that saving. Now, I'm not even going to say that the National Association of Realtors put out there that if you don't use a real estate broker, 9 times out of 10 you will lose $19,000 to $25,000 just to save 3% on commission. I think that's more puffery than it is anything else. There's plenty of people who sell their homes and they save a lot of money, but they also give up a lot of stuff, such as being represented and being represented wholly in any case. But that's beside the point. The other thing, the second thing is that A lot of people get very emotionally attached to their homes. And what I mean by very emotionally attached, it's like grandma's yellow pie plate. Grandma passed away, used pie plate probably 3 times, and everybody in the family remembers that pie plate when they were 5 years old when she made apple pie. And everybody in the family wants that pie plate. And if I put that pie plate up for auction, it'll probably bring $6 million if it is in between just the family members. Now, I know that's a little bit facetious, but I'm trying to prove a point here is that there's sentimental value in everything, and then there's market value. There are some real estate sites that I go to and I see this make me move price. Well, for real, to make you move, you're going to want $200,000 over the asking price or a normal market value for a particular property. You don't want to sell the house, so just take it down. Just say, "I'm sorry, I'm not going to sell the property right now," because that's just cutthroat, and no real estate broker is going to look at that as a serious uh, request to sell a property. And 9 times out of 10, when they come in and they come in with a low ball offer, that's because they see that, well, it needs paint, needs carpet, needs roof, needs air conditioning systems, it needs, it needs certain things. They're pricing stuff in their mind to come down. And you, Mr. Seller, you're like, well, these things are outstanding. Why do I need to repair them? Why do I need to fix them? Why do I need to cut corners? Why do I need to, basically stop there? Why do I need to? And as the homeowner, it can be upsetting to hear the comments that the buyers will have on your house, because their agents will try to smooth things over, and you're not wanting to hear it because you're insulted, because you're being told that, well, the air conditioning system isn't up to par, the carpet is horrible, the wall color is horrible. That's all stuff that can be fixed, and there's no sense to get upset about it. I can tell you that out of all of the houses that I have shown, uh, most of the properties that don't sell are the ones where they have unreasonable expectations over price and repairs. One had a air conditioning system that went back 34 years, and it was well past uh, the operational limits of the unit. But they had people coming out once every 2-3 years in order to take a look at it and keep the system up and running. As long as they could show the records, they were good. A lot of people, what they do is they just turn on the thermostat, and then that's the last that anybody thinks about the unit that's sitting outside, even though and when it dies and it's 400 degrees inside the house in the middle of summer, that's when all of a sudden you think about your air conditioning systems. But most people think that real estate is a full-time job. Well, it is sort of. But what I mean by it is sort of is you can call my phone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But if I'm sleeping, or if I am in a meeting, or if I've got other things that are going on, I'll give you a call back. So it's unreasonable to think that my phone's going to be 24/7. Understand, I'm not one of those high dollar places that overcharge you in order to have a call center in India and Utah and goes all the way around the world. I have an 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, and then anything after 5 o'clock, it's at my discretion. So if you call me at 7:30 at night saying, "Hey, is it possible to go and see a house at 8:30?" Well, the answer is no, because that's unreasonable. And I wouldn't expect a homeowner who's doing for sale by owner by any means to pick up the phone and say, "Hey, I'm on my way over. Can we see your house?" The answer is like, hell no. So it's important to understand that your house has to have a schedule to be shown. And it's just not, hey, bang on the door and let's see if we can get Joe to show us his house, because you're additionally going to be ticked off. And I can tell you that with us, we use a large network of people. With the real estate brokerage that I have been with in the past, there's been 15 people in the office. With the real estate brokerage that I have been with just recently, there's 90,000 people um, that I can say here, this house is available for your clients. If you have anything if this meets their need, hit the checkbox and let's go. Let's get this thing sold before there's 4 million people tromping through the house. The thing about it is for sale FSBOs. I'm just going to call them FSBOs from now on. You can list your home yourself on Zillow, Redfin, Craigslist, even in some cases the MLSs. There's some MLSs out there that will allow you to do it, but it's almost $600 to list your property if you're not a licensed real estate broker. Some of them are $400. I've seen one that's $199, but the one that really killed me was the one that was $600, and that's like, holy cow, that's more than I pay a year. So it's interesting that for those who are for sale by owners, that these places are taking heavy advantage of you for some reason, and I'm not quite sure I understand why. But you don't have relationships with those organizations, and they'll remind you as to why you don't have those relationships. There are some real estate agencies that have larger pools of potential buyers. One of the greatest is I heard on the radio, and I almost laughed so hard I went into a ditch, was this one company that had 13,000 qualified buyers ready to go at any time. Well, if that's the case, then there would be absolutely no houses in our market available, period. Because all 13,000 of those houses, or 13,000 houses, would have been sold like that. And why do I say that? Is because there's only about 180 houses that are on the market right now. It's still it's still a seller's market. But if they had that many buyers, I think that it would be even zero for new home sales too, because that means that they're building them faster than, or they're selling them faster than they can build them. That's just not reasonable. So whenever I hear one of those things, I get to cracking up hilariously, because I know for a fact that that's not the case. Now, when there's not enough people who are out there buying houses, the smaller pool means less demand for your property and for everybody else's property. Right now, everybody has shock of the interest rates, but the thing about it is that interest rates when I bought my house was 7%. And when I'm talking 7%, it was 7% on a $111,000 house. Now that we are in 7% land for a $325,000 house, people aren't so much terrified of the percentage as the interest rate as they are the price of the house. However, that being said, they say sometime next year they're going to be lowering rates. In fact, they went from 8% down to close to 7% now, which is savings that anybody could have if they wanted to buy your house for sale by owner. They say a good real estate agent has a good Rolodex of names. Good real estate agent answers the phone now, because Rolodexes are dead, and everybody, and I'm going to tell you, the reason why a lot of commissions are so high is because they pay for them through Zillow and all of these other lead generation places. And let me give you a price structure of what one of them said. It's $400 for a real estate broker to pick up the lead, and they want a 35% referral fee after that. Or they want you to pay $125 a month for their subscription service, so you can log into their website. You can see all those wonderful seas of leads in order to buy a house. Well, I've been involved in 2 of those lead generation sites, and I spent more money than I made. So guess what I don't do? I don't do lead generation sites. I don't do Zillow because Zillow is $1,200 a month plus. So when you take a look at it and you're trying to sell your house and you get a lead through Zillow, that's artificially holding up your potential commissions, and I think that's a little bit insane. Uh, I just don't believe in this idea that all of these people will have, you know, $30,000 potential clients in their bookcase that they're going to just crack it open and all of a sudden your house is sold. So I think that's just ridiculous. One of the things that a lot of for sale by owners folks do is they'll take phone calls of, are you willing to rent to own? Well, normally the rent to own people are the bankrupt ones. And when I mean the bankrupt ones is they are fresh out of bankruptcy and they're getting kicked out of their rental because they can't afford the rent. So you're going to say, sure, we can do rent to own. And I've seen some real estate brokers that say, I will do rent to own 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And guess what? It's seller finance. Well, they're stupid because these people don't have money to pay their rent. They sure as heck ain't got money to pay, rent to own a particular piece of property. So the whole purpose behind having somebody who is a real estate listing broker who lists your property is to also weed out all of those unqualified buyers. And if you have a real estate broker on the other side, you can actually ask them to see, I need a pre-qualification letter from their bank before we even bother booking an appointment. And if you can't provide that, then move along down the road. Sometimes they'll have it, sometimes they won't. Don't expect it to just go out there and say everything that there is in this particular letter. To me, I heavily redact them because we have seen it where several different people are sellers, not you, see these letters and they turn around and they raise their price to the buyer's maximum price. So it's unethical for us to just give you a letter and say, there you go, have at it. So if you're going to ask for pre-qualification, ask if they have a broker and they're coming to you and ask them, have they been pre-qualified for what we're asking for the property? And if they say yes, then you can have that discussion post that. And can you provide evidence? If they say yes, then then set up an appointment. With me, I ask for that stuff if they're interested in putting in a offer. They have to go through the listing channels. They have to go through the scheduling channels. And if they are not qualified, they don't get to see your house. But that's just me. The interesting thing about it is that they will try to sell you on selling on someone who's unqualified, and you don't even want them to grace your doorstep. Because sometimes, like for sale by owner people who are broke, the first thing that they do is they will go into the bathrooms and go through your medicine cabinets, open up drawers and look at your jewelry and stuff like that. It's happened before. We've had real estate brokers having sex in somebody's house, for crying out loud, which is, to me, is unethical, and these people shouldn't be real estate brokers. And if you have somebody who's responsible for theft, then I would not want them in adorning my doorstep. So if you have a listing broker, then the listing broker can see who was in the house, and not only that, but if there's anything that goes missing, or we've got people who are taking dog dishes, for crying out loud. With that, with a listing broker, we can go through and we can see who's at that particular property at that particular time. And we can turn around and we can call the police and have them all arrested. Not only the potential buyer, well, the no potential buyer is what I call them, but we can also have the real estate broker arrested for accessory to commit crime, property crimes. Um, Nothing makes a buyer more uncomfortable when they're being rushed through the house or they're being shadowed. So if they do have a broker, you can tell them that the broker cannot leave the individuals at all, ever. When they go room to room, they go room to room with the broker. And a lot of people don't do that. The broker stands there in the kitchen or something like that and then goes around and they go around and do whatever. So the broker says, well, I didn't know that happened or this, that, it's their responsibility to make sure that nothing gets stolen, the lights are off, or if your wish, the lights are on, that the lights are still on. So just to make sure that you understand it. Now, not all real estate brokers and not all people are like this, but there have been enough out there where it causes some concern. And I'm not afraid of saying it. To me, if you are concerned, you need to call me. Because my job is to make sure that your property is going to be respected. And if we have real estate brokers that are not going to respect your rules and because it's your castle, then they need not apply to even bother with showing the property. I'm going to tell you this part too. Price negotiations take skill. And a lot of times when, say, for instance, you go to a used car lot, you ask for, how much is that car? Well, it's $34. So you just, hand out $34. But there's negotiation skills that you can do in order to get that down further. Like, would you do 25? Well, no, we can't do 25. Well, what can you do for me? So there's negotiation skills there that goes back and forth, and it might also include some personal property. It might not include personal property. It could include vehicles. It may not include vehicles. If there's a shoplift or something like that where you unbolt it from the floor and take it with you, it might include the shop floor. There's also commission things that you can do, and other costs such as cost savings to use, such as they may want to buy it without having an inspection, and then you're off the hook from even bothering with repairs. So with all of those negotiations, there's 4 ways to Sunday to negotiate this, and 9 times out of 10, sometimes it's with the mortgage company. The thing about it is that your mortgage companies or their mortgage companies are going to come to you and they're going to say, well, we need to appraise your house. And if you say that your house is worth $1.6 million and it's a double wide in a trailer park, and the appraiser shows up and says it's worth $88,000, what's the chances that you're going to have a sale? I know I'm being facetious again, but think about that. If you're pricing your house above market value and the appraiser comes in and says, well, it's not worth that much, it's worth this much, are you going to flip your wig because it's off by 100 grand or 80 grand or 120 grand? That's why you have to be aware of what's going on as far as the price world. The thing about it is that Zillow is great to give you his estimate, but if their estimate was so great, they almost went bankrupt buying houses and selling houses based on their estimate. So it's not a good indicator of how much your house is worth. They say my house is worth almost $330,000, and I step out in the front yard and I go, where? But that's where people pay for it. The other thing about for sale by owners, and we said this before, is a lot of times for sale by owners will ignore the flaws of their own property. It might be the roof, it might be a creaky door, it might be a door that won't open, it might be windows that are painted shut, it might be gutters that are falling down, it might be that your house is shifted on base. Welcome to North Carolina. A lot of your buyers are looking for any particular reason whatsoever to say no. A lot of people don't understand that. And you have to think about it. If you're going in to buy buying somebody else's house, if you're going into somebody else's house and you're going to pay for that house, what do you look for? Do you look for flaws in order to negotiate down the prices, or are you just going to go ahead and say, yeah, we know that cover is dirty. We're just, or it needs paint. We're just going to be good with that. Or it needs a new roof, or it needs a new this, or it needs a new that. Where do you draw the line? Well, your buyers are doing the same thing when they come through the line, come through the thing. And some of the stuff that people will say is, some of the sellers are just ashamed of it. And it has nothing to do with being ashamed, because on the outside, there are cover doors and stuff like that that people don't think about. But when you take a look at them, either termites or water has eroded them down to, basic wood rot. Swimming pools, concrete cracks, pool needs to be resurfaced, garage floors, all that other stuff, foundation slip, cracks in the walls and stuff like that. All of that stuff is going to be found in a home inspection. So you might as well do a home inspection while you have your house for sale by owner, or have a house inspection and then agree to do some kind of repairs in order for you to move on to your next chapter. Some of these folks are like, you're going to get it as is. That's great. We can sell it as is, but when it sits there for 120 days, 180 days, etc., then we need to have a discussion as to what we're willing to give up in order to sell it as is. There's a house that is over in the town next to us that is priced at $180,000, which is I'm sorry, it's priced at $255,000, which is $30,000 over what the current market price is for that particular property. And they say that they priced it that way in order to, because it's as is. Whatever you see there is what you get. You're not going to get any repairs or anything like that because the people are elderly. So I had to ask them a question. And I said, well, you realize that you're $30,000 over what the current market rate is, and then you're asking for it to be as is, so you're really looking at about 185. And they said, you're out of your effing mind. We're not going to go 185. That's how much we paid for it. Well, when I went to stop by, it needed a new roof. The air conditioning system was out there since it was built in 2003. And it needed a lot of landscaping and stuff like that done. So you have to understand that you can't look past the blemishes that are currently there, because you can accept the blemishes, but your buyers cannot. So you have to ensure that you're ready to come to the table with either lowered expectations, or you have to call somebody in order to fix those issues. And I'm going to tell you, whether you like it or not, but all sellers are going to have to hire a professional cleaning service to come in and give the home a deep cleaning. And what I mean by deep cleaning, I mean Stanley Steamer comes in and sucks the rugs about 16 times, 32 times if you got a dog or a cat. You're going to have to deep clean your bathrooms. If your bathrooms are where the floors are soft, you're going to have to redo the bathrooms. You're going to have to bring in a contractor and get the quote for that, because nobody wants a house that has saggy floors. Now you'll have investors come in, but what they're going to do is they're going to do a 70%, 65 to 70% of that. And like with one of the guaranteed places, they'll come in with 60% offer, and then they'll charge you for the repairs. And so what you're left with is maybe 40 to 40% of the value of the house, and the rest of it went to repairs and their profit, because they're not buying a house just to grace you so you don't have to, so you can just start packing. They're going to buy a house so they can make a profit. And that means that you may have to take a soaking and cash out your equity in the house, and then they turn around and do 3 layers of paint and then they turn around and sell the property, and then you have cashed out your equity just for a quick sale. And there's only one way to do a quick sale, and that's by auction, because I'll set an auction day and it's got to be sold by that day. Whether it's somebody comes up and makes an offer for two, I'll give you, like we'll put it in for the AVM, which is the average rate, market value. And somebody will come up and say, "Well, I'll give you 5,000 more than what you're asking for in order to cancel the auction contract." And we turn around and we'll ask the sellers what they want to do with it, and they'll turn around and say, "Sure, have them sell it, get rid of it." And usually it's within 30 days to 45 days. Go figure. Doesn't even go to auction. It's already got a bid high and above that. That's not always the case, because sometimes somebody will come in and say, "Well, with all the repairs and stuff, I'm willing to give them tax value, or some money above tax value." That happens as well. The thing about it is a lot of people think that they're only going to get pennies on the dollar for their property. As far as that's concerned, you only see that with the courthouse steps with foreclosures and whatnot. You don't actually see houses going for pennies on the dollar when we're doing auctions with, like, me or somebody else. And I'll tell you something else. The last thing that for sale by owner people need to be aware of is the legal risks in doing their own paperwork. A lot of the paperwork is highly legal, jargoned garbage. But a lot of that is because you have disclosures, you have releases, you have representative type things. You have a wide variety of stuff that you have to cover with all of these transactions. And it used to not be that way. It used to be you signed the back of a check, and that check went into the bank, and then it transferred the deed. But now it's everybody's stupidly sue happy. So there's a lot of paperwork involved in a home sale, and it has to go through an attorney, and the attorney has to do a title search. I mean, it has to go back. So if your grandfather had that property, then they go back 30 years on that in order to find out, where it came from before and all that other stuff. I've got all the deeds and everything in my house. So when I drop it off and tell them that this is what it is, then I save I save a ton of money doing it that way. One of the most important items for sale by owner person is all of this disclosures that are required. You have lead, you have oil and mineral rights, you have homeowners association disclosures, you have residential property disclosures, you have everything about your property that you have to put down and say you either know something about it, you fixed it, or you don't know anything about it whatsoever. So you have to ensure that all of those disclosures are ready to go, because when you get to the closing table, they're going to be needed to be signed, and the buyer agrees and whatnot. And you're going to need a really good real estate attorney who knows more about the disclosure laws than you do. And you can actually have them do the paperwork and you sign off on it. But the thing about it is that if you fail to disclose a hazard or a nuisance or a defect, the buyer can come back and sue you after you have moved and you're long gone, and they find out that you kind of sort of didn't tell 100% of the truth. Well, the attorney will have errors and omissions insurance, or the real estate broker will have error and omissions insurance to protect themselves from that. But ultimately, the deal goes from the buyer or from the seller to the buyer. So if they didn't put it on the form, guess what? The seller is the one who's ultimately responsible for disclosing all of that, and it's the real estate broker who represents the seller who's responsible for making sure that they have filled it out to correct of their ability. So the bottom line is the housing stuff is one of the biggest transactions that you can do, and you don't want to goof it up. or you don't, say for instance, if you've got a job and you've got to move, you want to do for sale by owner, realize that for sale by owners will sit on the market for almost 270 days versus a house that's for sale now that sits on the market for maybe 30 to 45 to 60, depending on location, of course. I've seen houses and land sit out there for 120 to 160 to 180 days, but that's because of unreasonable statements such as, we're not going to fix anything. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. And not only that, but real estate brokerages are commonly pricing houses for 2012, which is, you've heard everything from $50,000 over to $110,000 over, and people were paying over that. So if a $300,000 house comes up on the market, people were paying $410,000, and then they had what they called an escalation clause, and that escalation clause made it go up to $450 or something ridiculous to that point. To that point. So you want to ensure that your house is priced properly. Your house is not a victim of the Zillow or the Zestimate, because their algorithms are always wrong. You want to ensure that you have somebody who is capable of telling you what your house is worth by having the tool sets and by having the understanding of what your property is valued where it sits today. So anyway, for sale by owner, folks, if this helped you, like, share, give this to your friends. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Birthday, Happy Hanukkah. What else is it? Happy Easter. You name it. Give this away. Let everybody know that, the reason why I make these videos is to help you guys. And if you need help selling your property, I'm here. My name is Matt Price. I am a real estate broker and an auctioneer, and we can help sell the property. And if you want to know how real estate brokers can make money by auction, I have a video somewhere around here that explains how real estate brokers can do it. That's an 1.5 hour long video, but it's training for real estate brokers, and real estate brokers don't want to hear it, because as it is right now, when it swings to a buyer's market, a lot of sellers will not budge on as is where is. But the auction method of marketing gets rid of this. I don't want to say gets rid of, sells the property as is where is. There is no questions. There is no due diligence period. There's none of this mess that they do that hamstrings the sellers. So, but anyway, if you ever get a chance, give me a call, 919-614-6288. I'd love to talk to you. Or you can visit my website, EBBIDS. Right now, there's a bunch of patches out there that are selling. And there's cars and trucks and vans and trailers and things like that. But there's also a real estate section that we're working on in order to get everybody up there. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and forward. And I will see you in our next video. Have a great night.